I've spent a lot of time in the gym over the years, and it always surprises me how different people have much different issues. While I would sometimes see people eating huge amounts of food unable to put weight on, what was most surprising was how often I found people who looked perfectly fine and exercised plenty, yet they had awful health issues like high blood pressure, heart disease, and multiple heart attacks. They'd also often have unpleasant issues like gout. That's a nightmare condition that I later experienced for myself, but was thankfully able to overcome. Bad genetics is what I assumed at the time. First, people born with bad kidneys or bad arteries, and others who were unable to put on muscle or to get their blood sugar under control, even when they had a seemingly good diet, must have just had bad pancreas, bad liver, or bad metabolism, something along those lines. Now I know better. Recently, I talked about Ansel Keys and his fraudulent research attempting to blame heart disease on fat. In reality, heart disease is a disease of inflammation. That is why smoking is one of the largest causes of human disease, because the particles cause inflammation throughout the whole body, not just the lungs and not just the heart. For example, smokers have a large increase in bladder and colon cancer, horrible diseases you definitely do not want.
Remember the lesson of Metcalf.
Metcalf?
Metcalf! Head of shipping and receiving, third floor. Metcalf! Now the poor bastard needs a machine. To poop!
This inflammation is caused at the cellular level as the cells become damaged from taking in material foreign to the body, especially sulfates that form in the burning process. Ironically, in the past, many cigarette filters were also made of materials similar to asbestos. These are materials that are very damaging to inhale, even in tiny amounts. Though they were designed to cut down on particulate inhalation and make smoking less hazardous, they inadvertently had the opposite effect.
Everybody loves the silky smooth taste of a red carpet.
Red carpet cigarettes, the Democratic Republic of Congo's #1 favorite.
Once you smoke one, you'll want more, and more, and more.
For most people who don't smoke, the inflammation comes mainly from the diet, and more specifically from a diet that provokes a high insulin response and keeps insulin high throughout the day, and this tends to lead to insulin creeping up and up over time and chronically becoming elevated even during your sleep.
And it can still work quite well at the kidney level. And one of the jobs of insulin at the kidney level is to actually hold on to sodium. So that's actually a much more important factor for increasing the sodium in your body and causing high blood pressure than is the amount of sodium that you consume. If you consume a modicum of sodium but have very high insulin levels, your body's going to try very hard to hold on to all of that sodium. You can, on the other hand, consume a whole lot of sodium but have very good low insulin levels, and any excess sodium that you consume will just come out in your urine.
This is why fasting very quickly relieves gout, which is a disease of inflammation. With low insulin levels, you simply can't have large levels of systemic inflammation. Uric acid is often blamed, but uric acid is actually one of the body's most important antioxidant agents. Not only that, but it is strongly antimicrobial, which is why those who consume a lot of meat seldom have bladder infections. At the cellular level, it is simply holding excess water in the cell, or swelling, that causes damage and pain in gout. This is also why we see baffling cases of people who look skinny and exercise a lot, but still have awful health. I meet people all the time who are very skinny and have had multiple heart attacks. They often waste their time with jogging and do other plodding exercises without realizing it can do little to help. It also does little or nothing to help with obesity, as your body adjusts its energy use to your expenditure level over time. Now, exercise has a lot of benefits. You can't outrun a bad diet, as they say. But when you fast for just 24 hours, you reduce your insulin to about 40% of what it was when you started. If you don't change your diet, it will slowly creep back up, but if you do a little bit of both, you can get rid of inflammation quickly and also permanently. And while the most common concern I see is from people who are already too skinny and worried about losing weight, fasting is like Miracle-Gro for your slowly withering lean tissue, especially as we age.
Time and time again, always running out on me.
Regeneration.
While a man's testosterone tends to slowly decline with age, growth hormone in both males and females quickly declines to about 1/3 the levels we had at the age of 18. And for most people, it just stays there permanently. That's why organs like the thymus, which is vital for fighting not just infections but also cancer, tend to wither to almost nothing as we age. Thankfully, growth hormone can reverse this as proven by the Trimex trial, but when we do it the natural way, we do not have to worry about weird side effects or pay the enormous expense of pharmaceutical growth hormone. Every day people tell me they want to fast but they are afraid to lose any weight. Thankfully, this is only an issue for very long fasts. You always have fat stores on the body for several weeks of fasting even if you look like you have no fat at all. Fasting is what this fuel is there for. Your body is always prepared to start fasting, and this would have been very common at any point in history or prehistory before the last century. The real problem these people have is withering of the lean tissue in their organs and low stomach acid from a bad diet. When you fast, it not only regenerates lean tissue but also greatly restores the digestive system by normalizing the gut bacteria. This restores your levels of acid in the stomach and allows you to more easily eat things like meat. It's also great for your teeth and gums, and even for mouth sores.
Take it from me, a guy who's had no source. I know the value of a mouth with a soul.
When Weston Price went to a remote Swiss village in the 30s, he was shocked to find cavities were almost non-existent. While they did consume some carbs, they invariably had a large amount of fat accompanying it. This would have reduced the insulin response and therefore the inflammation, which blocks the immune system from taking action in the gums and teeth. Since I've started fasting, all my tooth and gum issues have disappeared, just like flipping a switch. In the obese, the overgrown stomach lining and intestines shrink, and they don't overgrow again unless you overeat. In the lean and frail, these are already very small and often damaged and overgrown with negative bacteria. Fasting kills off these negative bacteria that impair digestion and lower your stomach acid, and the leaner you are while fasting, the more growth hormone will be produced. This means for those who need it, the stomach and intestines will repair themselves and grow, including repairing ulcers very quickly. And while stomach acid lowers during a fast, just keep in mind that for severe cases, you may still need medication to control stomach acid during the fasting. This is a perfect, self-controlling system that always does the correct thing for the circumstance. Our bodies really are designed to fast, and without some fasting, they will never work optimally. We are also designed for a diet that does not provoke a high insulin response. While obviously a low-carb diet will have the best results, all carbs are not the same either. Soda is all pretty much poison, and diet soda is just slightly less lethal, while lettuce and berries in moderation are unlikely to cause any problems. It's also important to have healthy fat with each meal, even carb-heavy meals, to slow down this response. Animal fat and fish oil from fresh fish is the best, followed by olive oil and coconut oil. Anything processed will be full of chemical byproducts and have a very high deuterium level.
These will not protect you.
which is bad for your mitochondria, which, as I've gone over before, is extremely bad for your health. Linoleic acid is also pretty much a poison in its own right, and it's not really an essential acid either. It just breaks down into arachidonic acid, which is an essential oil. While I started fasting to lose weight, the real miracle is that it can make you healthy before you lose a single pound of fat. In just 1 month, my blood pressure went from uncontrollable on 3 meds to absolutely perfect.
It's a Festivus miracle!
Let's begin.